Let me jump on the bandwagon. I want to congratulate the new Pope, but I want to put it in also historical perspective and what I think has just happened. I don't think it's a coincidence that the new Pope hails from Chicago and is an American at this time of the Trump era. I don't think it's a coincidence that this new Pope spent a considerable amount of time working with the poor in Peru and with people who would later be documented and undocumented in the United States. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he's chosen Leo the lion, a powerful symbol, at this moment in time during the Trump era. I'm going to break it down for you here at the intersection of law, politics, global politics, and a little bit of a religion on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. Let me jump right in. I'm going to have a working theory that the dark horse candidate of the American about liberal in terms of his politics, having politics, that person gets chosen while a lawless Trump resides in the White House. I'm just saying that if Biden was in there, the second Catholic to ever become president of the United States, they may go the Italian route, or maybe they go Philippines, or maybe they go Africa. But I think in this moment in time, to oppose Donald Trump, knowing this Pope Leo's social and political stances, while he was a cardinal, while he was a bishop, while he was spending most of his time in Peru, and they selected him not anyway, but I think because of it. I mean, I've watched Conclave, like the rest of them. And why is it important? It's important because it's yet another symbol, whether you have a religion, no religion, you're Catholic, you're Jewish. It's the Pope position and whoever occupies it. There is a moral gravity about that particular leadership, putting aside all of the problems with all organized religion in some way, shape, or form, including Catholicism. I get it. You don't have to leave the comments about the Catholic Church and all of the scandals involving sexual abuse and sexual exploitation. I'm just focused now on the guy that got elected Pope, and my working theory that the reason that happened is a counterweight to Donald Trump, because they had to have been aware, those cardinals voted, had to have been aware of a series of postings made by this Pope against the Trump administration and his immigration policies. And I also think the picking of Pope of Leo, even though was on purpose by him. In a repost that he did in April, there was a commentary by a Catholic writer about Trump's meeting with El Salvador's petty dictator, Bukele. And the post called the deportation of Abrego Garcia to El Salvador as illicit, and said, this is an auxiliary bishop in Washington who wrote, "Do you not see the suffering? Is your conscience not disturbed? How can you stay quiet?" The now Pope, then Dr. Prevost, retweeted that. He's been sharing statements strongly critical of when Trump was in and the Trump administration's approach to immigration and migrants almost forever. And his positioning, the new Pope, then Cardinal Prevost, now Pope Leo, aligns with the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and Francis, who criticized the Trump administration's views on immigration, period. He came out of that conference as a leader of that conference. So believe me, the others around the world, the European continent, African continent, Oceania, North America that voted for this Pope knows his political leanings. It is not an accident. In 2017, during the first Trump administration, he reposted a California Catholic Conference statement opposing the Trump administration's stance on DACA, the Dreamers Act, right? When Trump was just a candidate in 2015, he reposted an article by a cardinal that was entitled, Cardinal Tim Dolan, was entitled, "Why Donald Trump's Anti-Immigrant Rhetoric is So Problematic." After the mass shootings in Las Vegas, and I was there the night of the mass shootings, unfortunately, in Las Vegas in a casino that killed 58 people, he reposted a statement calling for increased access to mental health care and stronger, sensible gun control laws. By the way, I'm not critical. I have to make this clear for those who are just tuning in late to my show. I'm not critical of the Pope or his political stances. This is part of his order that he is a part of. This is part of how he sees his role in interacting with the rest of the world. And the conclave of other cardinals knew all of this and picked him in the time of Trump. That is the working theory. Chris Murphy, Senator Chris Murphy, who's a frequent foil for Donald Trump, seems to have ended up in the feed for the new pope because he shared a statement about gun control that this pope agreed with. On abortion, he's shared statements criticizing abortion. So just to show you I'm being even-handed here. He also shared an article coming out of a Peruvian newspaper where he was a religious leader that criticized gender ideology. And that kind of roiled up the LGBTQ plus community. So look, this kind of runs the gamut here. According to his voting records, it looks like he's voted in both Republican and Democratic primaries, not at the same time. And he voted in the Republican primaries in 12, 14, and 16. He voted Democrat in 2010 and all of that. So look, Trump begets a Pope Leo. Leo, one of the strongest symbols of the papacy in terms of naming, hasn't been used since 1903 with Leo the 13th, who stood for, certain important things which signal where this pope is going, including about immigration rights. I mean, if you do your research about the prior pope that he's named after, one of the prior popes, he was also a staunch protector of the immigrant group and their role in the Catholic Church and the role of the Catholic Church to protect and defend, put them under their wings. And so this is all a natural extension. You have an out of control, lawless president, right, who is against immigrants, who is throwing them to the wolves, who's even the ones that are documented are having their documentations taken away from them, and they're being forced out of the country, save for federal judges doing the work there to protect. So he's lawless, he's rogue, he is openly defying Supreme Court orders and other federal court orders about immigration and deportation. And who's the perfect foil for that? One of the moral leaders of the universe, like him or hate him, church or not, Pope Leo. Leo, not Benedict, right? Not even John Paul III. Leo, strong, ferocious, able to take down a giant elephant. Look it up. So I'm going to continue to follow the interesting stories here, just as we've seen Donald Trump impact election outcomes, and this is another election outcome around the world, right? Canada, I'm not sure Mark Carney's great. I'm not sure he gets in at any other time as a central banker, except in the era of Trump. We've seen it in the voting records in France. We've seen it in the voting records in other countries. There is a Trump effect. He's galvanizing the world against the United States. That's one Trump effect. But this was another election. I mean, it's all prettied up with, ermine mink stoles and red caps and all sorts of jewelry. But it was an election nonetheless in the conclave. And if you think these are like hermit monks, who were they were using their social media and their phones right until they slipped them into the concert bag before they headed into the conclave. That and cigarettes. They were, because they couldn't smoke in the Sistine Chapel either before they locked it. That's where the conclave comes, right? Conclave, to lock. So they are with a key. So they're in. So they were last posting on the way in. They are very media savvy. Don't be fooled. Continue to follow it all right here. See how Pope Leo takes his place on the world stage and opposes Donald Trump. I'm picturing King Kong and Martha, and you know how that turned out. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF. And until my next report, hit the subscribe button. Come on over to Legal AF Substack, where you're going to see some amazing content you're not going to find anywhere else, including great writing, and my morning AF legal briefing just for you. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.